Libra, God gave you this secret power, but you don't use it. What did God put inside you when He chose to make you a Libra? It's not diplomacy. It's not a charm. It's not that ability to lighten any atmosphere simply by your presence. Those are the things people see. Those are the things you've learned to display, sometimes without even realizing you were doing it. But the real gift, the one that was ingrained in your being before any conscious choice, is something else. It's quieter, deeper, and for that very reason, almost completely ignored by you. Imagine a common scene. An argument begins to heat up. Voices rise, the air becomes heavy in that way that makes most people either withdraw or attack, one of the two. And you feel it. Before you utter a word, before you make any conscious decision, you sense where the breaking point is. You feel the exact weight of what's hanging over you. You perceive, almost as if there were an invisible thermometer inside your chest, when the situation is about to turn around or when it can still be rebalanced, and you act accordingly. This isn't diplomacy. Diplomacy is learned. What you possess predates learning. It's a form of intelligence that operates before words, before logic, before conscious reasoning. Researchers call it field perception. Philosophers call it aesthetic sensitivity applied to relationships. I prefer to call it what it is, a power, a rare power, the kind most people spend their entire lives trying to develop and which you received as a foundation. And here's the paradox that will change everything you think about yourself. Within you, you possess the ability to sense imbalance before it manifests. To perceive when something is out of balance before anyone needs to speak up. To calibrate the surrounding field with a precision that others simply cannot achieve. In this sense, you are a kind of precision instrument for balance, a living level, capable of detecting inclinations that the ordinary eye cannot see. Think of a car shock absorber. Nobody notices it when the road is good. Nobody thanks it, nobody mentions it, nobody stops to think about how different the trip would be without it. It only exists as part of the undercarriage, doing what it was made to do. But when the pothole appears, when the unevenness arrives without warning, it's the shock absorber that prevents the impact from becoming a catastrophe. It's the shock absorber that could break everything. And most people around you have never understood that this is exactly what you do, that this is exactly who you are. The problem isn't that you lack that power. You do. The problem is something more subtle, older, and that you probably never stopped to name. Because while you were busy calibrating the world around you, while you were feeling the weight of other people's situations, absorbing impacts that weren't yours, adjusting the field so that everything was level, a question was being forgotten. It wasn't out of distraction, forgotten because the rhythm of being a Libra never leaves much room for what doesn't have visible urgency. And this question, by its very nature, never shouts. It just stays there, quiet, waiting. She asks, and you? Who is calibrating your field? Who is feeling the weight of your situations? Because there is one thing that no precision instrument can do alone, and it is precisely this thing that Libra has spent its life ignoring, not because it didn't want to, but because no one taught it that the power given by God could also be turned against you. Inside, for yourself. It was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose. It's not a book about astrology in the technical sense. It's a book about what happens when you stop using your power as a permanent service to the world around you and start using it as a compass for your own life. For Libra specifically, it talks about something that gets straight to the point, the difference between real balance and the harmony you maintain at the expense of what you truly need. That difference is subtle. And that's exactly where most of us get lost. You are in this moment right now, processing, recognizing something that has always been there but never had a clear name. And this is exactly the right moment to act. Not tomorrow, not when you have more clarity, not when the surrounding situation is more organized. Now, because what you feel now is the access point. It's when perception is open. When it closes, life goes on and the insight disappears without a trace. The link is in the first pinned comment, but be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. And while you're doing that, tell me in the comments, at what point in your life did you realize you were balancing other people's worlds while your own was out of balance? It doesn't have to be a big story. It can be a small scene, a feeling. I want to know. So let's talk about what nobody wants to admit about the nature of Libra. Have you ever noticed how easy it is for you to see what's wrong in a situation involving another person? How you can identify almost instantly where the flaw lies in someone else's relationship, where the pattern causing pain is, where the path back to balance is. It's almost automatic. You feel the field and know what's weighing too heavily on one side. You have, as has become clear, a gravitational intelligence that is structural, not learned. And now think, when was the last time you used that same precision to look inward, to feel the field of your own life with the same clarity with which you feel the field of others, to identify what is weighing too heavily on your side of the scale? What is being neglected, what is being silenced, so that everything around continues to seem harmonious? It probably happened a long time ago. Maybe it was never done consciously. And the reason isn't selfishness, on the contrary. It's not that Libra puts others above themselves in a noble and conscious way. It's something more subtle than that. Libra's radar has been calibrated to the outside world from a very early age. From the first time you realized you could ease the tension in a room just with your presence. From the first time someone recognized that ability in you and began to depend on it. From the moment being the one who balances became an identity, and identities are difficult to question because they seem to be what you are, not what you do. A parabolic antenna installed facing the sky of others perfectly captures everything that happens in the distance. But the signal that comes from nearby, from within, is outside the reception angle. Not because the antenna is weak, but because it was positioned that way. And positioning can be changed. But changing positioning requires first recognizing that something is wrong with the current orientation. And Libra rarely notices this error because the external system continues to function. Relationships continue. The environment remains balanced, people remain grateful, and while the external system functions, it is difficult to perceive the internal cost of what is sustaining this functioning. The cost becomes visible over time. Not dramatically. Libras rarely experience things dramatically, at least not outwardly, but silently and persistently. There's a weariness that Libra carries that doesn't have a clear name. It's not depression. It's not clinical anxiety. It's more like a candle that illuminates the entire room and burns underneath without anyone seeing it. No one notices the wax melting. No one feels the heat you feel. Because the light remains there, steady, and the room remains illuminated, and you continue to seem fine, but you know you're not completely okay. You know there's something that's been postponed for too long. A conversation with yourself that never truly happened, a direction that was ignored because maintaining harmony around you seemed more urgent, a need that was suppressed so many times that you almost forgot it exists. Almost. And here we arrive at the most unsettling paradox of all Libra's nature, something that will make you recognize something in yourself that has probably never been said aloud so directly. You are the sign of balance, the scales, the symbol of justice, harmony, and proportionality. And at the same time, you are one of the signs that most frequently lives in chronic internal imbalance. Not because the power doesn't exist, it does, and that has become clear, but because this power has been inverted. It has been calibrated outwards when the original intention was for it to function from the inside out. Imagine a chess master who has spent his life playing perfect games for others, analyzing, guiding, seeing the entire board for those who cannot see it themselves, but who has never sat on the correct side of his own board, who has never played for himself, who has never used that field vision to build his own life strategy. It's not that he doesn't know how to play, it's that he never considered that the most important game was his own. This is you, Libra, not as a criticism, as a revelation. And it is precisely here, in this recognition that power exists but is pointed in the wrong direction, that the digital book, the divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose, does something that few materials manage to do. It doesn't teach you to be different from who you are. It shows you how to use what you already have, this gravitational intelligence, this sensitivity to the field, directed towards your own life, your own choices, your own balance. It's a shift in perspective that seems simple when you read it, but changes everything in practice. This type of content isn't available forever. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. But what happens when you start doing this? When, for the first time consciously, you turn the compass inward? Something unexpected happens. Because Libra, who never hesitates to navigate the emotional field of others with precision and care, becomes strangely disoriented when the field is their own. As if the language you use to understand the external world doesn't have enough vocabulary for the internal world. As if the most finely tuned measuring instrument of the zodiac suddenly doesn't know what to measure when the object is yourself. Imagine a compass that has been used its entire life to guide other explorers. It has worked perfectly all these years. It has indicated north, south, east, west with unquestionable precision. And one day, the bearer looks at it and asks, "And where do I want to go?" Not where someone needs me to go, not where it would be most useful to be. Where do I actually want to go? It's a simple question, one that should have an immediate answer. But for Libra, it hangs in the air for a moment that can be very uncomfortable. Because the true answer requires something Libra has learned to postpone masterfully over the years. The decision that takes no one into consideration but yourself. The choice that asks no permission, asks no approval, doesn't consider beforehand the impact on the balance of the surrounding environment. The choice that is simply, purely and completely yours. For someone calibrated for the external, this type of choice seems strangely steep, as if there were a suspicious lightness to it. As if a decision made without weighing the impact on others were necessarily irresponsible. Libra carries this conditioning so deeply that it sometimes confuses prioritizing itself with abandoning others. And then it postpones. And while it postpones, the internal field accumulates what has not been addressed. And here's what nobody tells you about that moment when it finally arrives. It's not empty, it's full. Because when Libra finally uses that power of perception for itself, when gravitational intelligence meets the inner field, what emerges isn't chaos, it's clarity. A clarity that has long awaited recognition. A direction it always knew but never allowed to take shape. But reaching it requires confronting something Libra deflects with an almost supernatural skill. This moment of turning the compass inward, of asking where you want to go, not where it would be most useful to be, is exactly what the digital book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose, explores with rare depth. It discusses how Libra can develop the ability to hear its own direction with the same clarity with which it hears that of others. It's not theory. It's a concrete path to a power you already possess, but haven't yet learned to use for yourself. And this access won't be available indefinitely. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. The detour. Libra's ability to avoid looking directly at what bothers them within is impressive, and it's important to say this without judgment because this ability stems from a real place. It was born from such heightened sensitivity that looking at one's own discomfort head-on, without mediation, without softening, can seem overwhelming. So Libra developed over time a particular sophistication, the ability to redirect attention to something external that needs care. And there's always something. There's always a relationship that needs attention, an environment that needs adjustment, a person who needs to be heard, and Libra goes there with genuineness, with real care. But also, sometimes with a silent relief at not having to remain in the uncomfortable place of internal reflection. Libra has carried a mirror for years, and this mirror has always been turned towards others, showing those around them what they can't see in themselves. Libra uses this mirror with wisdom and generosity. But there comes a day, and it arrives for every Libra who decides to truly grow, when this mirror needs to be turned. When you see yourself with the same clarity with which you see others, the first reaction is almost always intense discomfort. Not because what appears is horrible, but because it's true. And truth has a specific weight. The kind of weight Libra has been trained to recognize in others, but not in itself, especially when you've spent too much time building harmonies around you that required you to become slightly detached from yourself, slightly smaller than you are, slightly more available to the external world than would be healthy for someone who has so much important stuff going on inside. What appears in the mirror when Libra finally sees herself is not what she feared finding. It's not a defect, a flaw, or a weakness disguised as virtue. It's something much harder to deal with because a defect would be easier to explain, to work on, to correct. What appears is greatness. It's a potential that was deposited and never withdrawn. It's the version of Libra that would exist if the same care and intelligence given to the world around her were given with the same constancy and depth to her own life. And recognizing this, truly, not as an abstract idea but as a reality felt in the body, changes something that can no longer be changed back. Because once you see it, you can no longer deny having seen it. This mirror, this ability to finally see yourself with the same clarity with which you see others, is what the digital book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose, helps to sustain. Because knowing that the potential is there isn't enough. You need a path to unlock it, to transform what you saw in the mirror into concrete choices, into real direction, into a life that finally uses the power of Libra for Libra. Don't wait. This content has limited availability. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. And so we arrive at what this video has always wanted to tell you. The power that God gave you when He chose to make you a Libra was not meant to be wasted on perpetually maintaining your surroundings. It was not meant to be consumed in balances that never last because they were built upon the suppression of what you truly need. It was not meant to exist solely as a service to the external world, always available to others and rarely available to yourself. This power, this gravitational intelligence, this ability to feel the weight of things before any word is spoken, this gift of perceiving where the breaking point is and where the path back to the center lies, this power was given to guide your life from the inside out with the same precision, the same beauty, and the same depth with which you have intuited the world around you all this time. The scale is not an instrument for judging others. It never was. It's a symbol of a choice that needs to be made every day. The choice to weigh what truly matters, not just what's on the surface. To include yourself in that equation with the same weight and importance you give to everyone else. To recognize that the balance God placed within you was, from the beginning, a way to guide you toward a life that makes sense from within. This gift is not a responsibility you carry for others. It's a language you speak, and one you are waiting to learn to speak to yourself. You have that power. You always have. The only thing that has changed today is that now you know where it was being spent and where it could finally begin to be invested, not out of obligation, by choice. By the most honest choice Libra can make, to become, for yourself, the same kind of presence you have always been for others.